Panama Canal is dying. A battle against nature. The biggest traffic bottleneck in history has resulted from more than 150 cargo ships stuck in the water, attempting to take a shortcut through the Panama Canal. The intriguing aspect is that every ship is prepared to pay the Panamanian government a toll of more than $4 million in order to use the canal. However, the government is not providing either maintenance or authorization for travel across the canal. There is a technical crisis rather than any problem at all. Once a source of global pride, the Panama Canal is currently confronting a serious dilemma. This catastrophe is against nature, not the result of any battle. However, how is this relevant to the videos on GPT? The world is once again seeing cargo ships take shortcuts, with two of them standing out. One is the Suez Canal, which links Europe and East Asian nations like China, Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore. It is based in Egypt. Similarly, ships from these nations utilize the Panama Canal, located precisely in Central America, as a shortcut for their journeys to East America or East Canada, or from Europe to West America. 70% of the world's 50,000 cargo ships make use of these two shortcuts. Therefore, any problems with these two shortcuts, the Suez or Panama Canals, will impact the entire world. In 2021, the Ever Given ship's 6-day blockade of Suez Canal traffic gave the world a preview of this. Ships will have to travel around if something similar occurs in the future, which will require more time and fuel. The end user, will ultimately be responsible for paying this additional expense, in addition to having to cope with their outbursts. Shipping businesses also pay the canal officials hefty toll taxes. However, what is the ultimate driving force, and why is the canal necessary? Let's take the example of a ship that wants to travel from the United Kingdom to San Francisco, which is in West America. There are now two ways for this ship to get to its destination. It can either traverse the North Atlantic, pass through South America's southernmost tip, cross the Pacific, enter the Pacific, and travel to San Francisco. With over 25,000 kilometers to travel, the ship would need to burn through about 8 million gallons of fuel in 28 days. The shipping industry will lose time on this entire journey, in addition to paying over $32 million, 260 crore rupees, in fuel expenses alone. There is a direct path from the United Kingdom to the Caribbean Sea. Here, ships can join the Pacific Ocean and proceed directly to San Francisco through the Panama Canal, rather than taking the longer and more arduous route that would have required them to traverse almost 25,000 kilometers. The Panama Canal drastically reduces this distance to just 14,000 kilometers. This indicates that shipping companies save over half of the fuel cost, roughly $1 million, as a result of the Panama Canal. Now, you could assume that because they can save more money by passing through the Panama Canal, they choose to do so. Currently, a ship sailing through the Panama Canal must pay a toll fee of nearly $400,000. At times, this rate can reach $800,000 or $1 million. Even then, ships using the canal cheerfully pay this sum. The time savings are the main advantage of using the canal. A ship that normally travels 24 times a year on a single route will only operate around 12 times if it spends an additional 15 to 20 days on each journey. As a result, they will have roughly 50% fewer reservations. To put it simply, time is money, and shipping corporations gladly pay the Panama Canal Authority a substantial sum in order to save time. They must pay, even if it means enduring 5 or 10 days of line waiting or putting up with the Canal Authority's irrational demands. The current issue, however, is that despite their desire, the Panamanian authorities are unable to permit more ships to transit through the canal. The question is whether or not knowing this requires us to comprehend how the Panama Canal works. It is a feat of engineering. Its designer was undoubtedly brilliant. However, nature was superior to even such genius. Looking at the Panama Strip, we see that it is a strip of land in Central America that is 30 kilometers wide. Although there are some sides, such as the ocean here, the Earth is 30 meters above sea level, making it impossible to dig a canal. Therefore, we elevate ships to a height of 30 meters before lowering them to sea level on the opposite coast. We're talking about millions of tons of cargo ships. Locks at the canal's entrance raise these large, heavy ships to a height of 30 meters. The ship can be raised using these locks, just like steps. The ship goes through the first lock. After the lock closes, the water fills the second lock. This procedure doesn't require a motor or pump. because lock number 2's water level is higher and increases spontaneously as a result of gravity. The center door opens, and the ship enters the second lock when the water levels in both locks are equal. Similarly, the ship ultimately enters Gatun Lake when it reaches lock number 3. During this procedure, the ship rises 30 meters, and it takes 11 hours to reach the other coast of Panama after passing through Gatun Lake. Remember that both procedures, which involve raising and lowering the ship, utilize canal water. When the dumping of fresh water from the lake into the ocean reaches sea level, it actually returns to the sea, which is why lock number 1 leaves water in the ocean. Canal water, which the locals also use for drinking, operates the locks. Every day, one ship uses as much water as 5 million people drink out of their taps as it navigates the Panama Canal's locks. Gatun Lake empties its water into a massive lake the size of a typical metropolis. The nearby mountains provide rainwater to Gatun Lake, aiding in replenishing the water ships lose during passage. This process has continued since the construction of the Panama Canal 110 years ago. 8.2. He wasn't even delusional or conceited about what would occur if Lake Gatun's precipitation declined. And the Panamanian administration is currently suffering from this problem, like a rope around its neck. Yes, in the Panama region, there is a crisis characterized by extremely low rainfall once every 7 years. The severity of this catastrophe is increasing, to the point where there was no rain in 2023 and the Meteorological Service predicts extremely low rainfall in 2024. The only two options left for the Panamanian authorities in this position are to either run the canal or supply their citizens with clean drinking water. They make $4.32 billion a year from the canal, which accounts for a large portion of Panama's GDP. Blocked canals impact income, while open canals pose drinking water problems. Even with installed pumps, adding seawater to Lake Gatun would only operate the canal and turn the lake's water brackish, rendering it unsuitable for human consumption. As a result, the local government has begun to take action to preserve Lake Gatun's water. First, the number of ships going through the canal will be reduced from 38 to 18 per day, and only cargo ships with fewer containers will be permitted to travel through the canal. It goes without saying that a ship will use more water the heavier it is. These actions result in up to 40% less cargo being put onto a single ship, with the remaining cargo being placed onto new vessels. This implies that there have been a lot more ships traveling through Panama overall. Outside the Panama Canal, people are waiting in line to cross, especially those who did not make reservations in advance. The line is already formed. They have a maximum of 15 days to wait. Toll fees are also being collected in conjunction with these delays under the pretext of an additional freshwater premium. This has severely disrupted the routes from Europe to East Asia and West America to East America, disrupted the routes from Europe to East Asia and West America to East America in advance. This implies that even before products are developed, their delivery via the Panama Canal is scheduled for items now being produced in factories. Additionally, the cost of this is higher. Today, a number of solutions, such as building a passage through the Bay of Oceania, are being offered to address this problem. Once ships have unloaded their cargo on one coast, the containers are loaded onto trucks or trains and driven to the opposite coast, where they are once again loaded into ships. This is an excellent alternative. Yet the Andes mountain range, which spans 9,000 km, acts as a wall in the western regions of South America. It is the longest mountain range in the world, and there is no way to build roads or train lines across it. At a location in Mexico that is just 190 kilometers wide and bordered by the sea on both sides, a corridor connecting North America is also being constructed. The Mexican government is investing $2.85 billion to construct contemporary ports on both borders and a train network between them. It is anticipated that this project will be finished in 2030. The Panama Canal will then be quicker and less expensive than it was previously. 13 million containers a year will transit through this location once it is finished. In contrast, 26 million containers cross the Panama Canal each year during regular operations. In 6 years, half of Panama will be directed towards this Mexican transoceanic route. In comparison with other choices, this initiative shows a lot of promise. Cost to cost is dispersed, and the network is growing. However, it will also take a few years to complete this project. The globe appears to be in complete darkness over the Panama Canal's destiny. The rains will resume here, and the canal will once again be able to accommodate its full capacity. But since climate change is a genuine thing, nobody finds it easy to combat it. There might not be enough rain in the upcoming days, forcing the canal to be permanently blocked. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon.